Hello everybody and welcome to a video about special damage. So in this video I'm going to go over 40 characters that deal special damage, whether they be in a cohesive team or just I show you them stand alone. But it's worth making a video like this, especially at this point, because dodge is so prevalent with these set 4 datacrons. You might not have to deal with it a ton, but even if there's a little bit of dodge on an enemy team, it can be frustrating to deal with. And why it makes sense to try to enumerate characters that deal special damage is there are less than 100 special attacks in the game total, whereas there's close to 400 physical attacks in the game. So it's over 150 probably characters that are dealing or physical damage, and probably less than 50 or so that deal special damage, at least by my count. So it's way more uncommon to have special damage. And before I go into the characters, I'm going to go into a little bit of a breakdown of what the difference is with special damage and physical damage, other than the arbitrary distinction of physical versus special. So first off, to dive into the differences between special and physical damage, I'm going to look at Darth Revan. He's a classic special damage character, and one of the main differences between special offense, special damage, and physical offense and damage is you usually have higher damage stats on special, but lower crit chance, and then the reverse on physical. So you see here, mine has over 10,000 special offense and only 32% critical chance. And Darth Revan only does special damage, but his physical offense crit chance is higher significantly, like 22%, and physical offense is much lower. In general, it is easier to get a character up high in special offense because of different gear pieces. And if CG wants to make a character deal a lot of damage, they can often just rely on special damage to do that. For example, with the Mace rework, he went from dealing physical damage on most of his attacks to special damage on all of them, and that was to enable him to do more damage. And of course they changed the damage multipliers behind the attacks themselves, but special damage was way easier to make him hit harder and less like a wet noodle. And also, why it's easier to deal a lot of damage with special offense is the armor totals, or the defense totals, are much less for special defense. So physical defense is called armor. As you see here, my Darth Revan has 60.9% armor, but the resistance, which is special survivability, is only 51.2%. And this holds constant across pretty much all characters unless there's a specific attempt to go out of their way, or CG made a specific attempt to go out of their way in the gearing process to make a character have higher resistance. But most of the time you don't see a lot of resistance build up over the course of gearing naturally. Another thing I think that is notable about resistance in armor is how CG implemented a lot of extra resistance into Gear 13 finishers when they came out. Because unlike any other piece of gear, which is standard across any character, Gear 13 finishers are bespoke and they're specifically tailored to a character. And you'll see, if you pay attention, you'll see a lot of high resistance figures, but not as often armor, because that's kind of correcting a deficiency in characters. Like here for Zalbar, he will get plus 268 resistance. It's hard to make sense of the flat numbers like that. I don't even quite understand it. But there's no extra armor here, and that is because Zalbar really has an imbalance as of now when I have him at Gear 12. So it's got 52% armor and 38% resistance. So whatever special attacks are coming at him, they're only being reduced by 38% of the total. And then physical, it's 52%. Okay, and now here I am looking at a set 4 datacron where I kind of have splits all over the place. This one isn't particularly useful because I don't have a lot of focus on anything. There's about 19% dodge, 9% deflection, only 15% critical avoidance. And one thing I don't like about this set, other than how dodge is broken, is that they split up weaker stats that I don't really think need to be split. Like physical accuracy, special accuracy, you should just have one accuracy stat. Because if you have a special accuracy land, that's almost useless most of the time because of how few characters use special damage and how often people are targeting dodge just because it's prevalent. Also, critical avoidance, I think that should be just combined to just be normal critical avoidance. I don't think it makes sense to split it into physical and special. Dodge and deflection, though, I do think that makes sense that they split it, and it is good. If it wasn't split, but it was still the same figures, it would be horrible. Right now, if you face a Lord Vader with 100% dodge, at least you can bring in Fennec and do some special damage and not worry about that getting dodged, because if they have that much dodge, they don't have deflection. Armor and resistance penetration, you know, these figures are pretty high. If it was just defense penetration, which is both armor and resistance penetration, maybe that'd be a bit too strong, but I don't know. I still think that probably didn't need to get split. I think the only thing that really needed to get split in this set was dodge and deflection. So now that I've kind of gone over a lot of differences with dodge and deflection and why it matters right now, let's get into the compositions. So now that we've talked about some of the main differences between the special damage and physical damage and how dodge and deflection works with those, let's get into the compositions that use special damage, so you don't have to worry about those dodge totals, just deflection on the enemy team. So these first two line up quite nicely. Darth Revan and Bastard Shan Fallen both only deal special damage, and also Darth Revan has an unavoidable attack on his Insanity. And just a note, going back earlier, how I was talking about how special damage dealers have way less critical chance. You might have thought, okay, well, Darth Revan crits a lot. What's going on there? That's due to his leadership. His leadership stipulates that Sith Empire allies gain 10% critical chance for each of their own debuffs. So his kit kind of remedies this special damage problem. That's why this team just hits so hard. It's because they benefit from high special offense and crit chance just being made up for them in a quick one fell swoop. Next we got Jedi Knight Revan, Yoda, and Bastila, and a lot of people would slot Jolie here, which is fine because he doesn't need to deal damage, he just calls assists. But these characters all do special damage, and I think exclusively. So this is a great team, it's a very natural fit. This doesn't happen very often, again, but this is just about Yoda taking attacks, and Revan also will hit. He won't miss if they have a lot of dodge, neither will Bastila. Next we got another awesome duo, and this is another quite natural one, and you can add tons of other stuff here, Star Killer, more Empire, more Sith, but these characters deal all special damage. I think Mara Jade is exclusively special as well. Yeah, special damage. Yes, she is only special, so that's nice. There are some characters that have a mix. They have some physical and some special, but awesome characters here. Next we got Ahsoka, or Commander Ahsoka and Mace, and these seem like an obvious add-on to a General Kenobi team, or Jedi Master Kenobi team. If you're doing a mirror, I don't know if you'd want to use Mace because it's just a sacrificial lamb for the cat jump from the opponent. But if they have high dodge, Commander Ahsoka can really lead the way. And obviously her whirlwind can't be dodged anyway, but her basic attack is special, so you can make some progress with that as well. And the Mace Windu is all special damage as well after his rework. Next up, we got most of the Triumvirate. We got Traya and Nihilus, and that's mostly what you need for damage. This team isn't dealing a lot of damage through direct hits anyway, but the fact that Nihilus deals special damage is great because Drain Force is not going to get dodged, and he's going to get to that Annihilate faster. Dooku is here, but he's one of those mixed characters where he deals special damage with Force Lightning, but he does physical damage with his basic. Another thing I want to point out is it's not really intuitive what does special damage or not, but most of the time if you have anything involving Force Lightning, that is special damage. But it doesn't make sense as far as like lightsaber hits because Mace does special damage, Revan's doing special damage, Yoda, but there's plenty of Jedi that just do physical damage with their lightsabers, so it's just kind of pragmatic, whatever the developers want to do with it. Next up, we got another classic team, and no, Bam does not do special damage, but he is just a clear third to a team like this. I don't know if you'd want to use Queel with Fennec and Mandalorian. Usually people use Grief, but Fennec hits like a truck, thanks in large part to 5 hits of special damage on her basic. And since she does deal special damage, she takes advantage of not 7,500 offense, but 11,500 offense from special. And she doesn't crit that much, and there's not a ton that boosts her crit chance. So she is most of the time only hitting for normal damage, not critical damage. but she still chews through enemies like nobody's business, especially Lord Vader. So this is a great team. Queel does special damage on his voltaic shot and his basic, but he's more the support. He's not there to deal damage. This team would all just go through Fennec. Next we got some Galactic Legends. I put them lower because if you're using Galactic Legends, it's not, well, they're a lot stronger. Not as many people have them. So this. Next up, we got some Galactic Legends that deal special damage, starting with Jedi Master Luke and Sith Eternal. Sith Eternal's alone because he can do that a lot by himself, and usually he just wants to bring someone that boosts him, and he's the only one doing anything in the whole match. But Jedi Master Luke does special damage with his abilities, and he also has that special attack which calls people to assist. And that works well to circumvent any kind of dodge because that extra boost of true damage based on his protection doesn't get dodged anyway. So these characters do special damage. They're not great. Plo Koon, Qui-Gon, and you're using Qui-Gon as a lead anyway. And he kind of gets around the need for special damage because Anakin can't be avoided. But he's another one of these mixed characters. He does special damage on his special attacks and physical damage on his basic. So he's not really a big damage dealer anyway, but he does do special damage. And Sith Eternal, also only special damage. Now Jabba isn't doing a lot of the damage himself, but his attack that does do damage, it deals special damage. Yeah, Crumb's Revenge. I'm just tossing a thermal. That is special. And then Boushh Leia is a great special damage character. The thermal detonators, I don't know if they count as physical or special either way, but Boushh is one that is not going to be dodged. She'll only be deflected. Next up we got some resistance slash almost resistance, not really. And this isn't a cohesive team on its own, but it's just kind of grouping those types of characters together. The Resistance Hero Bros deal special damage both, so under Jedi Training Rey or Finn, they are the damage dealer, so if you're facing a team that's not the best team, but it does have some dodge, this is a great way to get around that. And Ben Solo also only doing special damage, although not as many people have him right now, and he's usually just somebody you throw with Galactic Legend Rey or Jedi Training Rey to prevent them from dying, and he's kind of disappointing at this point for me, honestly. Then we got Radis. He's doing special damage. Usually you want him with Jyn in 3s and on defense, but if you do have him on offense, Cassian is a mixed character. He does special damage with his special, but physical with his basic. So not huge damage dealers there. This team is all about building up to that like quasi-ultimate attack, but nevertheless, they do deal special damage. Next we got some Empire characters that deal special damage, and this is far from a cohesive team because I've never seen anyone run Thrawn, Veers, and Tarkin. Thrawn's a plug-and-play, Veers definitely needs to go with M-Troopers, and Tarkin doesn't have much use other than the cheese. But if you're trying to make that cheese against Lord Vader run well, where he does a million intimidation tactics, gets like 300, 400 stacks of Emperor's Trap, and then you want to do this, definitely load up on special accuracy if you have the datacron for it, because this does special damage and it definitely can be dodged. And here we are with some more hodgepodge teams that you wouldn't really run on their own, but just for the sake of grouping, Echo does special damage on his grenade, but physical on his basic, special there, and he has way more special offense, just like pretty much anyone else. 6,800 physical for me, over 10,000 special. So the grenade does more damage. Usually that's the one you're saving on the Reek to do more damage when you can. Cody is not a damage dealer, but he does have a special damage attack. And then Tech does special damage. So these guys usually aren't going together, but if you're running Bad Batch or 501st, these are the characters you can count on to hit if you're going up against a lot of dodge. And then here I gave the clarification that Sortie does physical damage because she does only do physical damage. But I could see this team still working pretty well anyway, because R2 does special on his AoE, and he does physical on his basic, unfortunately. But T3 does special all the way, so this team could deal a lot of damage together. Maybe Sortie will get some hits. I mean, usually if you're using a team like this, there's not that many super high dodge datacrons going around. There's just a little bit, but I could see this team doing something in 3v3 if you're trying to deal with a little bit of extra dodge. Next up, we got some kind of the bottom of the barrel here. We got Night Sisters. Talzin is all special damage. SWGOH has special damage on her spinning special, but physical on her basic. But you can definitely get some damage in here. A lot of it, the damage with the Talzin team is through Plague. And usually you want to run Daka and Zombie or something. But they're always with someone else. So if you're running this in threes, maybe the third you just have Spirit. But Night Sister Acolyte does do special damage. But if we're being honest, she's pretty useless. No one's going to get her up. Then Inquisitors. The Doom Inquisitors that deal special damage are Fifth Brother and Second Sister. I just got up Second Sister this week to Relic 5. I think I should be ready for Grand Inquisitor when it comes around. And then First Order does not have a lot of special damage going around. There's just Hux and Phosphate. And they're not really taking anyone out by themselves, so not super useful with them. But at least I'm thorough in going over the special characters because there are not many to speak of at all. And then last but not least, there's one notable new character that does special damage, and that is Hondo, which everyone loves. I'm not a huge fan of him. I mean, he's okay, but to me, he just seems kind of like a bad Jack Sparrow impression in Star Wars, so kind of weird. But everyone's seen those videos of him taking out Galactic Legends when he's the last character left, and he ramps up his damage a ton. Obviously, I haven't developed him at all right now, but he's worth getting once he starts being farmable, and you can throw him in a lot of places. He's a tricky character, but he deals special damage, so you can rely on him to get around that pesky dodge. And then another new character to know that does special damage is this 000 character. It'll be a while before I do anything with them. But they do a special on the basic and the special, and they can do a good amount of damage. The other droid does physical, so it is kind of a mixed bag, but we'll see what Dr. Afra does. Maybe that team will be a special damage dealing machine. So that's it for me today. This is certainly not all the special damage dealing characters, but it is most of them, and definitely most of them that are useful. It just goes to show how few characters make use of special damage. And that's why dodge is so prevalent and deflection is just an afterthought. But let me know what you think down below. What are you using to get around dodge this season? Do you not have to deal with dodge much? I'd love to hear from you. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching.